Good morning, YouTubers. It's about maybe a half hour after 6, 20 minutes in the morning. We're getting ready to go down to Danville, Geisinger Danville, for my son's pulmonologist appointment. He's been having a lot of trouble breathing. And both my kids are going to eventually get screened for cystic fibrosis. So, and that's not the hardest part about it all. If we can't show that we can take care of our children's medical needs, they will put our kids right up for adoption. So we're under a lot of pressure. It's it'd be a lot easier dealing with this stuff if children and youth wasn't involved. Because God knows I know how to give a breathing treatment. It was just a little difficult to give my son a breathing treatment because he doesn't like the mask that you had to put on him. It's a cute little rhinoceros-shaped mask, but, my grandmother didn't even like wearing the oxygen mask. I don't like wearing an oxygen mask. I don't even like having the tube in my nose, like the oxygen that's only like the tube. I mean, who does? Because he was crying and screaming and squirming, but I knew how to do it. It's a little different when you're giving it to an 8-month-old. Because I've helped Nanny, sometimes put her nebulizer stuff together, the albuterol. I've done all that for Nanny when she was alive. She would give herself breathing treatments, but I also myself, as a young child, received breathing treatments. So I know the protocol through actual experience. I experienced it. When I remember getting them, I was able to sit for them. But I always thought the fun part was at the end when you got beat up like a drum. You can make all kinds of funny noises, breaks up the mucus and everything. Yeah, that was the fun part. Mother actually made it into a game. I think that was back when she was somewhat stable. So, I don't know what I'm really asking. I don't know if I'm really asking for anything. Because I have enough strength to heal my children. I have enough strength for my children, but I don't know if I have enough strength for myself. I've been through a lot with children and youth already. So, I guess just maybe some moral support. I don't know how well you guys could give me moral support, but you could try maybe. Artemis, leave those strings alone, sweetie. I know you like to play with your strings, but you got lots of string everywhere. Yeah, it's just because you YouTubers, you don't know me that well. You don't know what kind of a mother I actually am. You know, but I do have a lot of guilt for how things went with my children. I feel like I haven't done enough. Drusilla, when she was in my care, we had a diaper changing table which was given to me by my mother. It was one of those old ones that, fold in and was with the wicker baskets. There was no sides and someone had removed the straps. I had developed sciatica after being pregnant from the hormones loosening up the hips, and my sciatic nerve had gotten pinched. I didn't know what it was at first, so I was using this diaper changing table, and it was still difficult to change her. And the first time she fell, we had just moved into the downstairs apartment. Nothing was where it was supposed to be. So I turned around to get her socks out of the drawer, and we had been laughing and kind of like wiggling to the music, and she rolled off. My chosen brother at the time, Artemis, leave that scarf alone. Artemis, Mommy is talking. He came down, and I had put an ice pack on her mouth where she was bleeding. He called the ambulance for me because I was a mess. My daughter is bleeding from the mouth. And we took her up to Geisinger Bear Creek, and they had her in the trauma center, and she was fine. She had only cut her in her lip. And I'm one of those people that if someone asked me what, is bothering me, at that time, I didn't hold it in. If someone asked me what was bothering me, I would let it out. They were concerned about what I was telling them. They made a phone call to children and youth. At this time, I didn't know I was pregnant with Paladin. Did not know. I didn't know till I missed a period. So it wasn't too far in that I realized I was pregnant with Paladin. And by then I've already discovered that I had sciatica, and my sciatica was doing a little bit better by this time, but I was still afraid of what if I can't get up off the floor from changing her. Now, I was told specifically by children, do not use this changing table. Well, when it was back in the bedroom, the back bedroom where it was Drusilla's room, it was fine. Because everything was just right there. Then the ceiling came down in her room because there had been water leakage. So I had to move it back out to the living room. Not thinking clearly, and the person who helped me apparently wasn't thinking right either. We just put it in front of the bookshelf. And I learned a lesson early on. Do not put the clothes on the changing table with the baby, because she ended up going home without an outfit because she had dirtied the one that she was in, and then the spare outfit got peed on. So I learned not to put the clothes on the changing table with her. I didn't really have another place to put it quite within harm's reach. I'm reaching over to the end table to grab her clothes, and by this time she has already been pretty mobile. I leave the room. When I leave the room, she's in front of the TV. I come back. She's on the other side of the room, diaper half off. But then again, I still used the changing table because I was afraid I couldn't get up off the floor. I had that fear. And I had one hand on her, and then but reaching over, my focus is over here. I still got a hand on her, but I'm reaching over here. And how she got around was with her feet. She'd push herself with her feet. She pushed herself with her feet right off the changing table. I tried to get the lady upstairs who was a registered nurse, couldn't get her. The other neighbors came in. Becky called the ambulance. And because I was so distraught, the ambulance people actually thought I had been drinking. Hormones are flying everywhere from being pregnant. My daughter had just fallen 3 feet from a changing table. Am I not going to be a little distraught? It's completely out of it. The ambulance took her up to Geisinger, Bear Creek. And then the reason why we took her up there is because they had the trauma center up there. Now, when we got there, they took her into the normal ER, which I thought was weird. Their protocol was that because she already had, all those screenings done on her head, that they really couldn't do anything, or they chose that it should wait. They checked her for bruises, they looked at her pupils, and then sent her home and told me to watch her. She fell asleep on the way home. She slept for a little bit, and then she woke up screaming. But before I continue on with this, I kind of foresaw, because one time I actually turned around and looked at her while she was at her swing, and I saw bandages, just briefly, bandages around her head and around this way, and I didn't think anything of it. I was actually being forewarned, and I didn't listen. It was just briefly, for a brief moment, that I saw bandages on my daughter's head. Now to continue on with the rest of it. And so I decided I wasn't going to take her back up to Geisinger, because I felt they really didn't do their job. Kid falls 3 feet from a changing table, lands on the back of her head. You're just going to check her for bruises and check her pupils? No. Because she just wasn't acting normal. She wouldn't play with the toys. She wouldn't eat. There was just something wrong. I didn't know exactly what it was, but I knew there was something wrong. Took her up to General. They did an x-ray, and then they did a CAT scan, and they found a cracked skull and a hematoma. They life-flighted her to Geisinger Danville. They gave me the choice of whether to go to Hershey Geisinger Danville. I had my reservations about going back to Geisinger, but there was going to be no way I could get down to Hershey or even get back. So I said, we're going to need to go to Danville. At least somebody can come get me and her in Danville. And then I'm trying to find a ride. I can't get anybody to get me down there. But, oh my God, the hospital actually paid for my taxi ride. Taxi showed up just as my flight left. And this guy was chasing this helicopter. This guy is going 100 miles trying to chase this helicopter. Because this guy was a father, and he knew he had to get me down there. I got down there just as they finished prepping her. Just before they took her back into surgery, I got to say, a few words to her before she went in. Told her Mommy's here. Mommy's not going anywhere. And I didn't. I sat in that waiting room for a few hours. The doctor came back and told me I could go see her. The back, she's covered in wires and everything. I was so afraid to pick her up, so afraid to move her, but I stayed with her. That entire night we were there. And then Children, Youth, and CPS showed up the next day to do the investigation because it was a serious matter. Then I was told I couldn't be alone in the room with my daughter, and I had to go over to the Ronald McDonald House until someone was there, until someone came that I could spend time with her. I couldn't sleep that entire night. I just couldn't. I tried everything I could do to keep calm, but I wanted to be with my daughter. And then it was the first time I met Jackie, the support worker. Oh, Jackie's just wonderful. She's got 4 kids. Oh, she's a peach. And then I had to name somebody she could go home with. And I couldn't name anybody in my family because anybody I trusted was not capable of taking my daughter. They had lives of their own and just wasn't. Because I would have given her to Kira in a heartbeat, but she had a work schedule and everything. She didn't have her own place. She was still living with Nanny at the time. Well, she was sleeping at Nanny's on and off. Sometimes she'd be with her boyfriend, so she had her own life going on. And Kirsty lived upstairs with Aunt Franny, and, Aunt Franny had already done enough when she watched her when I was in the hospital after having her for the infection in my incision. And when I had my gallbladder taken out, Jamie had taken care of Drusilla for me, so I named Jamie as someone who could be responsible enough to take care of her. So she went home with Jamie, and Mom took me home. And then I tried my hardest to get her back. But being pregnant with Paladin at the time, it was hard to keep up with her. for most of the pregnancy with Paladin, I was still a single mother. Jonathan was there. He was still coming to grips with the fact he was going to be a father. But not long in he was always there, but I was still single. You know, he had a lot to contend with his own, but he came around, and after the flood, we moved in together here, and then had Paladin, and I knew the whole pregnancy I wasn't going to be able to keep him. I knew they were going to take him from the hospital, and I tried to prepare Jamie, and I said, well, he's coming with you, and she's like, well, yeah, but you know they're going to want to take him home. I said, no, they're not. I haven't done enough. And they took him right after he was born. And I was no good. After that, I couldn't stop crying. I sat right here in my chair. I would put a movie in, and then when it was over, I just wouldn't do anything. Both our ICM workers came in to check on me, and I was a mess. I just couldn't stop crying. It was just that I'm on medication now. Just enough to keep me from crying. I haven't taken my pill yet today. It's just enough to get me through the day. Now I still have, other ways of expressing what's going on inside. I get very manic. My OCD acts up really bad. I start scrubbing everything. So I gotta clean this house for my kids. I gotta get this house clean for my kids. And it gets dirty every day. Every day it gets dirty. I'm not used to dealing with a house being dirty every day. Because my old apartment, it just seemed to stay clean. I never really had to, sweep the floor every day. The house just stayed clean. I mean, of course, now we have Artemis. Artemis, that's not a scratching post. Do not chew on those magazines. Artemis, Artemis. We love her to death. Oh, God, she's a handful. But hey, I gotta cut this video right here because I've talked an awful lot and I don't know if I'm gonna be able to upload it. But we have to get ready, so see you.